Hello, Rune Scholar, wherever and whenever you are. I'm the modern Erilar. Carving runes into wood or stone takes significant effort in what is usually a limited amount of space. Historical rune writers seem to have made the best of the limited space at hand, so today let's discuss ways to conserve both effort and space when writing in runes. Historical rune writers would often leave runes out to save space, and there are a few patterns to this practice. Two of the space-saving features are the non-representation of a nasal before a homorganic consonant, and the second is the avoidance of gemination. That's some technical linguistic terminology, so let's explain both of these concepts. First, the non-representation of a nasal. A nasal is a consonant that is made by vibrating your nasal passages like M and N. And when sounds are made in the same part of the mouth, like M and B and P, those are all labials, and N and D or T, those are homorganic. When a word in languages that we would usually call Proto-Scandinavian or Old Norse is spelled with an M or an N followed by that homorganic consonant, often the rune for the nasal, the M or the N rune, is not written. For example, on a comb from Lund, the inscription reads Kon os berkena. Cob, really, but we should read comb, the word for comb. And in this inscription from Bergen over in Norway, we can tell that the rune writer has written Stafakri, but we know that that person means the town of Stavanger. Our rune writers did not write the M in comb or the N in Stavanger, and you must decide from context clues which word they mean. This space-saving technique was used with particular frequency during the Viking Age, but it persisted well into the Middle Ages, and it even shows up in some inscriptions where we observe other Latin-influenced practices like the doubling of consonants. And when it comes to inscriptions in the Latin language that were rendered in runes, as opposed to those that were written in Old Norse, we still have several instances where the nasal was still omitted before certain consonants. For example, on the Voller church bell, the inscription reads Sancta in the phrase Sancta Maria. This non-representation of a nasal before a homorganic consonant is most common before a D, a B, or a G sound, though we do also see it before N, T, S, F, and thorn sounds, so all of the th noises. After the development of Younger Futhark, in similar words, the rune writer sometimes chose to write the M instead of the following consonant. So we sometimes see the spelling kumel for the Old Norse word kumbel, meaning a monument or a marker, and usually indicating a rune stone, though the spelling kubel is much more common. Another simple technique to save space is to avoid doubling or gemination of the runes, though this does seem to be regional. Gemination can manifest in a couple of ways. The first is across word boundaries. If you end a word with one rune and begin the next word with the same rune, during the migration era and the Viking Age, in Scandinavia at least, many times you only write that rune one time, and it suffices for both words. For example, on the Rök runestone, the two words warin numnar, meaning or taken, is written warinumnar, and the N is not repeated. The second way that gemination can show up is internal to a word. And both vowels and consonants can double to lengthen them in modern Scandinavian languages and in modern English. And this type of sound change affected all West Germanic languages in either the 3rd or the 4th century of the Common Era. Again, in Scandinavia, it seems to have been atypical for a rune writer to double runes to spell a word with a lengthened sound, though it did happen even in Elder Futhark. The number of continental Germanic inscriptions with definite interpretations remains too small to analyze conclusively the prevalence of rune writers there avoiding double consonants, but the English do not seem to have spelled this way. Raymond Page described sets of English runic inscriptions where doubled runes spell words where indeed doubled Latin letters would be expected. Single runes spell words where double letters would be expected, and double runes appear where single letters would be expected. Old English, therefore, seems to have had fewer or less rigid spelling conventions when using runes than did the Scandinavian languages. We do start to see doubled runes to mark long vowels and consonants in Scandinavia during the medieval period. For example, in Hamre Church, the word soul is carved solo os lauger to show that the vowel, the o sound, is long. In Vinje Stave Church, the name Sverri is written with 2 writhe runes, even though the carver, Sigurdur Jarlsson, also used only one náð rune in order to spell the word dagin, and one solo to spell the word mesu. These doubled runes appear after Latin script starts to have a major influence in Scandinavia, but only very few inscriptions doubled runes consistently, and doubling was never required when writing in runes, as the majority of inscriptions still seem to have relied on a single rune for any particular sound. When these double consonants do appear, sometimes the runes in question use bind runes to achieve a double rune. So for 2 náð runes, we see something that looks very much like a short twig berkene in inscriptions N446 and B333 from Bergen. And then for the double lauker, we see something that looks an awful lot like a Frisian O's rune in N446 as well. And bind runes are actually a much longer topic, so let's do a deeper dive in our next episode. Thank you for writing the runes with me, the Modern Erilar.